Hi, my name is Max, and today we're going to be making scones and clotted cream. Clotted cream is where we're going to start because it's a pretty long process. In fact, it takes a whole day, and we begin it by filling an 8x8 baking dish with 2 pints, or 1 quart, or 950 milliliters of low temperature pasteurized, unhomogenized heavy cream. This is very important because if you use just plain old regular heavy cream, it's just not going to work. After it's been in the oven for 12 hours at 170 degrees, it's going to look a lot like this. We're going to want to let it cool down to room temperature, and then we're going to want to chill it in the fridge overnight. Now we're going to get to work on the scones, and we're going to start that by adding salt, baking soda, and sugar to flour. We're going to want to sift that flour so that all of the ingredients we added to it mix together properly, but it's also going to cause the individual granules of flour to separate and make it easier for us to add in our other ingredients. For example, butter, which we have cooled down in the fridge after we cut it up. You can also put it in the freezer if you really feel like it's gonna take a long time to blend it together. I use a pastry blender here, but a lot of people just use 2 butter knives or a fork to break it up into little pieces. Just gonna press it down and turn it slightly so that the butter mixes into the flour, and the whole thing's gonna have the consistency of a coarse sand or kosher salt. Now we're going to add our dried fruit and cream. For dried fruit, I'm using black currants, but you can use cranberries or chopped dried cherries or even candied ginger, which is a personal favorite of mine. If you've never had black currant, I really don't know how to describe it other than delicious. It's really good. We're just going to mix it in here, make sure each individual berry is coated, and then we're going to add the cream in batches. I'm not actually sure why I added the cream in batches. I feel like I could have dumped it all in at once, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to mix it together after each batch, and it's going to slowly form into this sort of shaggy dough. It's going to be a little bit sticky and it's not really coming together right. You're going to be kind of worried that it's not working, but it's totally fine. You're just going to want to flour work surface as well as your hands, and just pour the whole messy mass out onto your countertop. See there, it's not coming together at all, but you just pour it out and you start kneading, and as you knead, it's gonna come together a little bit more. It's gonna form a little bit more of a cohesive structure, and it's gonna get a little less sticky. The trick here is just to work it until it feels right, and about here is where I decide that it feels right for me. So I just let it sit on the counter for a little while I get together my other tools. I usually roll this out with a rolling pin, but I forgot to bring mine today. So I just press it down with my hands until it's about 3/4 inches thick, and I just square it up to make sure it's that thickness all the way through. Just going to press it down a few more times just to make sure everything's perfect. And now we're going to cut it with a 2.5 inch biscuit cutter. This one has little flutes along the side, but if yours is round, that'll work too. You want to just press down and then lift up. It's really important that you lift up, because if you turn it at all, it's going to prevent the individual little bits of butter and layers from rising properly. You also want to smush together the excess dough so that you can get more circles. And here I'm actually pressing it out into a round and then cutting it into slices. This is another good way of cutting biscuits, and it actually produces a slightly more consistent product, but I like the rounds because they're just better for clotted cream. I'm sprinkling on some coarse sugar here. I'm using a turpentino sugar, but anything will work. You don't even really have to put it on. I just think it looks nice and tastes nice. You want to bake that at 425 for about 12 to 15 minutes. And when they come out of the oven, the surface should be just a light brown color. You're going to want to move those next to a cooling rack. And just take them off with a spatula and let them come down to a more manageable temperature for you to arrange them for a shot you're never going to take. I should edit this out, shouldn't I? Anyway, now we're going to move back onto the heavy cream. We're going to break just the corner off of it. And we're going to push it in a little bit so that it still sticks to the rest of it. And we're just trying to get the water, well, not water, but actually whole milk underneath to pour off. As this was cooking, the milk fats and solids drifted up and sort of came together into a thick layer underneath which was your whole milk. Now we're going to want to mix the clotted cream up until it's a sort of a smooth, buttery, delicious sort of spread. I didn't mix mine well enough here. Don't do what I did. I had to come back and mix it up later so that I could set up this cute little arrangement with the jam and the clotted cream and the scone and some other disappearing stuff. Then I just smoothed on a little smear of clotted cream. This stuff is really, really good. I know it takes a day to make, but it's totally worth it. Make sure you get both of your halves of the scone and smooth every little bit of it right to the edge of the scone's surface. And you're going to want to spoon on a little bit of raspberry jelly. This is homemade raspberry jelly. Definitely not something that I bought at the store earlier this morning because I didn't have time to do a homemade jelly. No, this is the good stuff, and I just gotta smooth that around on top. And if you'll excuse me, this is the first thing I've eaten all day, so I'm gonna need some alone time.